My name is Ayesha Hameed, and I'm an artist and a writer. The last 10 years, I've been working on projects that look at legacies of transatlantic slavery, illegalized migration. In order to explore that, I was doing performances, sound works, films, and then writing. I got interested in the slave trade on the Indian Ocean, which in an ironic way brought me closer to home. My family is from India. The challenge is how to bring myself into the work. The Indian Ocean brings me closer home, but in terms of my own practice, I felt like I was more ready to start thinking about things that were more autobiographical and drawing on my own personal history. So just before I started this residency, I made a video that was very different from my work before. It was called Ilamoria, and it was in the form of a letter to my mother. But I link this difficult letter to this myth of an underwater Atlantis in the Indian Ocean. Water under the sea. Possibilities of life. Lands that are not my own, because you took my ground away. The film was entirely shot on my phone. It was a film that I actually shared with my mother. That was a really important part of it as well, is to sort of say, I cannot talk about our relationship, so let's go underwater. So this idea of like grief and water has been something that I've been developing through the residency. I did a performance sort of a few months in. It was an expansion of this letter to my mother and thinking about all these underwater worlds and underwater tragedies.
Dear Mother, I am writing to you in deep time. I'd like to tell you that the first time I kicked off my sandals and stepped into the ocean, that I felt some kind of transformation.
I realized that in order to sort of tap into something genuine, you really, at least I felt like I really needed to go very personal. One of the things I've been focusing on is to hone in on my writing, and particularly how to write poetry, which is something I find it's the most exacting, it's the most uncompromising medium. Like you can't really hide behind good poetry. And I think good poetry does this is by being so personal. It is able to branch out into something that is much bigger than yourself. So basically what the residency has done is given me a kind of shelter from all the expectations I've had of my own practice, all the things I wanted to do, and to just really stay on the page and really try to tap into some kind of genuine impulse. By marking this paper, I change it to something else. Yes, edits are like drawing. To use is to rise, and to rise is to make a fold. Music is something that's been a really central part of my practice actually for a really long time. Trying to think about the relationship between music and memory, music and language, music and affect, because I'm working so much with, I guess, what are kind of lost experiences, experiences that haven't really been documented in the same way as others, illegalized migrants, transatlantic slavery people. As an artist, I've been a kind of artist theorist, and I've read a lot of theory, I've written a lot of theory, I do field work in my practice. So there's a lot of research that goes in before I write. What I'm learning in poetry is that your thinking happens on the page. you can come in with ideas, but all bets are off when you write, because there's certain things that happen in the rhythm of the words, in things that rhyme or almost rhyme, where you break a line. And that's as important as the quote unquote content. I think with poetry, what's written is as important as what's not written, like the trapped white space. In what ways is writing part of the ecology with which you survive in the world? I think that last sentence is probably what I feel this residency is sort of, I've been exploring quite a lot, is how to make a different kind of world as you're writing poetry.